What's going on, guys? Joe here, back at Bountiful Gardens, Hillsboro. You know, we're pushing deeper into summer, and some of our favorite plants are starting to burst with color and fragrance. During these hot months, it's so important to provide our pollinators with as many food sources as possible, so they can keep up their essential labor while the temperatures hover around 100 degrees. And when it comes to hovering, the pollinator of the week is an unmatched master. That's right, this week we're talking about the Hoverfly. To teach us a little bit more about these floating flower friends and how you can attract them to your garden, let's hand things over to Dan and Glenn.
Hey everyone! So you may be asking yourself, what's a hoverfly? Well, a hoverfly is a type of insect that mimics bees in terms of pollination and the way they look with their colors and striping. They will also pollinate flowers over a longer distance. In the world, we have about 6,000 different species of hoverflies. However, here in New Jersey, we have about 109 that you can find throughout the entire state. They're super fun to watch as they hover around plants, sipping on the nectar, and in general, they're just a really cool pollinator.
Not only are hoverflies important pollinators, but they're also important in agricultural settings and in the garden setting because they eat aphids. In their larval phase, each hoverfly can eat as many as 400 aphids, which makes them a much better substitute than using pesticides.
So you may be wondering, how can I get hoverflies into my yard? Well, here at Bountiful Gardens, we've got tons of different species that will help attract them to your garden. Here next to me are some really great herbs that you can use in your garden, both to cook with and to attract the hoverflies. Here in front of me is parsley, which is a really great culinary herb that you can use in your kitchen. In addition to that, it's a wonderful host plant for the swallowtail butterfly, and it usually comes back as long as we don't have a super cold winter, so you can plant this plant and get it for a few years. Here next to me, we have our culinary lavenders, which are a great evergreen plant that give you these attractive purple flowers, usually from early summer on and off all the way until the mid-fall. Here in front of me is another great herb for your kitchen. Dill is a great source of pollen for our hoverflies, and in addition to that, it's a wonderful host plant for the swallowtail butterfly, just like parsley.
Not only is cilantro great in soups and guacamole, but hoverflies also love them when they are in bloom. Cilantro is also an important source of vitamins A, C, and K, which is a hard one to get into your diet.
Here is another great herb that you can use in your garden. Thyme is a wonderful evergreen ground cover that will have these beautiful little purple flowers during the summertime, which is a great source of nectar for our hoverflies.
So hoverflies also love alliums, such as chives, and our native species here, nodding onion. Nodding onion is a beautiful border perennial that can get up to 2 feet tall. They also flower from July to August, which makes them a great later blooming plant. So the entire plant of nodding onion is edible, everything from the flowers to the stems to the bulbs that they produce.
Here in front of me is another great plant for the hoverflies, the sunflower. This dwarf branching variety will give you continuous flowers throughout the entire summer and even until frost.
Cosmos, I would say, is probably one of my favorite annuals. I love their wispy foliage and their colorful daisy-like flowers. Hoverflies love them. These are great for excessive heat, full sun. They love it all. We also have a darker variety called chocolate cosmos.
This is sweet alyssum, which is a really great ground cover or plant for a hanging basket that will give you flowers continuously. And in addition to that, it's got a wonderful, sweet scent that'll help keep the rabbit and deer out of your garden. Another great plant that you can put in your garden to attract the hoverfly is the marigold. This staple flower is a great plant to repel deer, rabbits, and even squirrels from your vegetable garden. And more importantly, they keep the mosquitoes at bay.
So before me is Echibeckia, which is a cross between a coneflower and a black-eyed Susan. Hoverflies like nice open flowers, such as the Echibeckia. These thrive in full sun, open spaces, and they look very beautiful in the summertime. Hoverflies also love Coreopsis. This one is my favorite variety. It's called the American Dream Coreopsis. Before me on either side is the tall tick seed Coreopsis, which can get up to 5 to 7 feet tall. Another great perennial that hoverflies love is Echinacea. Echinacea has beautiful, colorful, open flowers, which makes it very easy for hoverflies to land on and collect pollen. Yarrow is another great perennial with nice open flowers, which makes it easy for hoverflies to land on. Another thing that's great about yarrow is that once they are established, they can be pretty drought tolerant.
Thanks, guys. Once you start noticing those hoverflies on your flowers, you're not going to want to stop watching them. And by adding some of those plants to your garden, you'll be seeing them in no time. And like I mentioned earlier, some of the most gorgeous plants come into bloom as the summer rolls on. Now, while some of these plants may not be native, they certainly can be a feature in your landscape and a tasty snack for your pollinators. After all, there's nothing wrong with a little dessert from time to time. Now let's head on back over to Bountiful Gardens viewing, where Ike is going to tell us a little bit more about leaving some plant candy out for your pollinators this summer.
As more and more people transition to planting native pollinator gardens, there's been some hot debate as to whether or not you should still plant cultivars, things like Crape Myrtle or butterfly bush or Panicle Hydrangea. The reason being that natives provide food for pollinators at every stage of their life, while things like Crape Myrtle and butterfly bush really only provide nectar and sweet treats for butterflies, honeybees, and hummingbirds. I don't know about you, but I can hardly go a day without a sweet treat, and that's exactly what cultivars are for pollinators. A little dessert and a beacon that'll attract them to the rest of your garden and introduce them to your natives. The vibrant colors and showy blooms of this purple magic Crape Myrtle, for instance, make a great bullseye for pollinators in your area and a good accent piece for a well-balanced garden. After all, you want to think of your garden like a well-balanced diet for local pollinators and wildlife. You want to have plenty of good, nutritious native plants that'll feed them throughout their entire life cycle, but you also want to reward them with a slice of cake like this Grand Cascade butterfly bush. When planting, it's best to keep in mind a 3-to-1 rule. For instance, for every 1 Panicle Hydrangea that you plant as a sweet treat or dessert plant, it's good to plant 3 natives, that way you have some nutrition in the garden. You can't live off sugar alone, and neither can hoverflies, but by keeping a well-balanced garden, you can provide cultivars now and then to provide some candy for both the eyes and your pollinators.
Thanks, Ike. So the lesson here is, if you love it, plant it. And as long as you've got a plant palette packed primarily with native perennials, there's no harm in featuring a few of these gorgeous cultivated plants. So get out there and plant for the hoverflies. And don't forget to treat yourself and your pollinators with some late summer plant candy. So thanks for watching. If you're enjoying these videos, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our weekly updates. And if you want to see our channel grow, make sure you share this video with your hoverfly-loving friends. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.